The email came at 3:17 a.m. Effective immediately, your position has been terminated. Thank you for your service. No explanation. No warning. I sat there in my tiny apartment, staring at the screen, heart pounding. 12-hour days, 3 years of my life, and I was out, just like that. The CEO, Ethan Cole, had promised we were a family. I'd believed him. Especially after the investor meeting last week, the one I led, where we closed a $10 million deal that saved the company. Now, the same man who toasted me with champagne had erased me with a single email. But Ethan made one mistake. He forgot I was the only one who knew the passwords, the code, and the truth behind that deal. And I was about to remind him, publicly. I used to believe loyalty meant safety. That if you worked hard, stayed late, and believed in the dream would protect you. Turns out, dreams don't sign paychecks. People do. And people lie. When I first joined Novatech, it was nothing more than 5 desks, bad coffee, and a founder with impossible confidence. Ethan Cole, our CEO, called us the pirates of the new AI frontier. He could make an empty room sound like destiny. I was 26, fresh out of grad school, hungry to prove I belonged. He'd shake my hand every night before leaving the office and say, "You're the engine, Parker. Don't ever stop." So I didn't. I coded through birthdays, holidays, even my sister's wedding live-streamed on a second monitor. Every late night felt worth it when Ethan promised equity, bonuses, a future. For 2 years, I helped build Novatech's entire predictive learning platform from scratch. Then the investors started pulling out. The product demo crashed twice, the funding runway hit zero, and morale evaporated. Ethan paced the office like a man watching his kingdom crumble. One night he stopped at my desk, dark circles under his eyes. "Parker," he said, "if we can't show progress by Friday, we're done. Give me 48 hours, I replied without thinking. I didn't sleep for those 2 days. I rewrote the core algorithm, patched the bugs, and built a working prototype from scratch. Friday morning I demoed it to Ethan and the board. When the AI correctly predicted market fluctuations in real time, the room erupted. Ethan hugged me, shouting, "That's it. You just saved the company." 3 weeks later, he asked me to lead the investor presentation for a potential $10 million funding round. I wore the same navy blazer I'd worn to my graduation and walked into that conference room trembling. The investors grilled us for hours. Scalability, data ethics, revenue model. But every question I answered seemed to melt their skepticism. Ethan mostly smiled and nodded, letting me handle the technical heat. When the lead investor finally said, "We're in," I swear the entire room exhaled at once. Ethan raised a toast that night in a rooftop bar overlooking downtown. Champagne fizzed over our glasses. "To Parker," he declared. "The heartbeat of Novatech." Everyone cheered. Cameras flashed. Felt like a movie's happy ending. But behind his smile, I caught something strange in Ethan's eyes, like gratitude mixed with calculation. I brushed it off, blaming exhaustion. 2 days later, during our team celebration lunch, Ethan proposed a new structure. "Once the funding clears," he said, "I'll be adjusting roles for efficiency. Everyone will have clearer responsibilities." I nodded, proud, naive. He even clapped my shoulder. "You'll see, Parker, this is how we scale." That night, I stayed late cleaning up the code repository, prepping next phase plans. My inbox pinged with a message from Ethan. "Proud of you, man. Get some rest. Monday will be big." I smiled, shut my laptop, and finally slept for the first time in days. Monday arrived. I brewed coffee, opened my computer, and tried to log into my company email. Access denied. I tried again. Same message. Then Slack. Then the development server. Everything locked. Confused, I called IT. "Hey, it's Parker. My login's not working." I'm not supposed to talk to you." Ethan said your access was revoked." "What? Revoked? I'm the lead engineer." I'm sorry, man." Blick. I raced to the office, heart pounding. My ID badge flashed red at the door. Through the glass, I saw a security guard placing my belongings, my headset, notebooks, even the framed team photo, into a cardboard box. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Behind him, Ethan stood in the hallway, calm as ever, phone to his ear. When he finally looked up, he smiled slightly and turned away. I pressed my hand against the glass, disbelief curdling into rage. After all the nights I'd given him after saving the company, this was how it ended. My phone buzzed. One new email, subject: termination notice. Effective immediately, your position has been terminated. Thank you for your service. My vision blurred. My hands shook. I whispered into the empty lobby. Why, Ethan? Then I noticed something strange. Next to the security desk, a man in a suit slid a thick envelope into Ethan's hand. Ethan signed something quickly, glancing nervously around. A cold thought crawled up my spine. Maybe this wasn't just betrayal. Maybe it was a setup. I stood outside Novateka's glass doors, watching my life boxed up. Every late night, every sacrificed weekend, every dream I'd poured into this place, now reduced to a cardboard box behind a security desk. When I finally walked away, the city felt louder than usual. My phone buzzed non-stop with messages from coworkers. Man, what happened? They said you leaked something. HR won't tell us anything. Leak something. I'd never leaked anything. By the time I got home, an official statement had hit my inbox. Due to a violation of confidentiality policy, Parker Ellis is no longer employed by Novatech. We wish him the best in his future endeavors. Violation. Confidentiality. Those were the same words used when companies wanted to bury you quietly. My hands were trembling as I scrolled through the statement again. Ethan's name wasn't anywhere on it. He'd let HR handle the dirty work. The man who toasted me with champagne a week ago had vanished behind legal silence. That night I couldn't sleep. I replayed everything. The meeting, the funding call, Ethan's weird look during the celebration. Didn't add up. Then around 1 a.m. I got a text from Leah, a junior developer I'd mentored. Parker, don't trust anyone. Check the server logs before they wipe them. Before they wipe them. I sat up instantly. My access was gone, but I knew something she didn't. I had created a backup admin key months ago for emergencies. If Ethan thought he'd locked me out completely, he was wrong. By morning, I was sitting in a nearby coffee shop with my laptop, fingers flying over the keyboard. I entered the old credentials. Access granted. My stomach tightened as I scrolled through the logs. Hundreds of lines of code streamed past. Then I saw it. A full data transfer made 24 hours before my termination. From Novateka's secure repository to an external server. The user ID, e.cole. For a moment I couldn't breathe. Ethan had cloned the company's proprietary AI model, the one I built, and transferred it under his own name. And then he'd fired me to erase the trail. Rage pulsed through me. I downloaded the logs to a flash drive, encrypted them, and backed them up 3 times. As I was packing up, my phone buzzed again. Another message from Leah. They're saying you tried to sell company data overseas. Ethan's showing proof. Proof. He'd set me up completely. My chest felt tight. I looked out the cafe window, and that's when I saw him, Ethan, standing across the street. Hands in pockets. Smiling. When our eyes met, he tipped his coffee cup toward me like a toast and got into a waiting black car. And that was the moment I realized. This wasn't over. This was war. Midnight. The city was asleep. I wasn't. Wearing black and carrying my old keycard, now reprogrammed using my emergency access, I slipped into Novateka's building through the side maintenance door. The halls were empty, humming with the faint buzz of servers. My heart raced as I approached the restricted lab. Inside, the main terminal still glowed blue. I plugged in my flash drive, fingers trembling. There it was, the duplicate repository, time-stamped and tagged, Project Mercury, private server. I opened the folder. Inside were contracts, encrypted investor files, and one shocking document. Ownership transfer proposal. Parker Ellis IP assets. Ethan had been planning this for months, using me to close funding, then removing me before the ownership shift became public. Every late-night meeting suddenly made sense. Every "we're a family" speech was just a setup. But there was something else. Buried in the logs was a subfolder labeled Gate 10. When I decrypted it, my breath caught. It wasn't just Novatech's product. Ethan had copied other companies' data. From clients, competitors, even government contracts. It was industrial espionage on a massive scale. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. He wasn't just greedy, he was dangerous. Footsteps echoed outside. Security. I yanked the flash drive free, killed the monitor, and ducked behind a server rack. The guard's flashlight swept across the room, landing inches from my shoes. He paused, then turned away. The door clicked shut. I exhaled, shaking, and whispered, "You picked the wrong engineer to betray." I left quietly, slipping into the streetlights. The city looked different now. Colder, sharper, alive with secrets. When I got home, I called Leah. "He's been stealing from everyone. I have proof." "Parker," she whispered, "you need to talk to someone outside the company." "Who?" "I know a journalist. Maya Singh. She's been investigating tech fraud. She'll believe you." That night, I emailed Maya everything, the logs, the proposal, the truth. Maya Singh replied at 5:47 a.m. "Meet me. No phones. No email. Tomorrow, 8 p.m., Park Street Cafe." When I arrived, she was already there. Mid-30s, sharp eyes, no nonsense. She slid a recorder between us. "Start from the beginning," she said. I told her everything. Ethan's manipulation, the $10 million deal, my sudden firing, the stolen data. When I showed her the proof, she leaned back. "This isn't just theft," she said. "It's a cover-up tied to investor fraud. If we publish this, Novatech implodes." "Then publish it," I said. She hesitated. "You realize they'll come after you first." He nodded. "They already did." Maya promised to verify everything before going public. For the next week, we worked in secret, cross-checking emails, matching signatures, tracing servers. Meanwhile, Ethan began his counterattack. A legal notice arrived at my door. Cease and desist for possession of proprietary data. He was accusing me of stealing what I had created. My lawyer laughed bitterly. Classic corporate reversal. "He's trying to bury you in paperwork." But Maya found something Ethan couldn't hide. An internal memo instructing IT to remove Parker Ellis prior to contract filing. Proof of premeditated termination. We were ready to publish. The night before the article went live, I got a message from an unknown number. "You're making a mistake, Parker. Walk away before it gets worse." I ignored it. The next morning, Maya's article dropped. CEO steals AI code. Fires creator before $10 million funding. The internet exploded. Investors froze the deal. Employees began leaking their own stories. Ethan's PR team scrambled, but the damage was done. That evening, Maya called. "You did it. He's finished." But before I could celebrate, a loud knock rattled my apartment door. When I opened it, 2 men in suits were waiting. "Mr. Ellis," one said. "We're here on behalf of Novatech Legal. You're under investigation for industrial espionage." Froze. Ethan wasn't finished. He'd escalated it to law enforcement. They dragged my name through headlines again. "Disgruntled employee under investigation." Maya stood by me, but the media circus was brutal. At the pre-trial hearing, Ethan sat across the table in his perfect tailored suit, oozing confidence. He smirked as his lawyer spoke. "Mr. Cole's innovation brought millions to this city," the lawyer declared. "Mr. Ellis attempted to profit by leaking sensitive data. When it was my turn, I handed over the evidence. Timestamps, source commits, and backup logs signed under my admin key." The judge skimmed the papers, eyebrows rising. Ethan's lawyer protested. "These could have been fabricated." But then Maya stepped forward, holding her recorder. "Your Honor," she said, Mr. Cole gave this interview off the record. It contains his own confession. You press play. Ethan's voice filled the room. I had to secure the clone before Parker could claim ownership. Business is survival. The courtroom fell silent. Ethan's smirk vanished. His lawyer stuttered. The judge's gavel struck once. Proceed with investigation into Novatech Holdings. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. How does it feel to expose one of the biggest tech scandals of the year? One shouted. I took a deep breath and said, justice doesn't always come fast. But it always arrives. As flashes burst around me, I felt something new. Relief. Not because Ethan was falling, but because I was finally free. That night, Leah called crying. They're firing everyone who knew. Good, I said. Let the rot clean itself out. But just before I hung up, she whispered, Parker, there's something else. Ethan wasn't the only one involved. Leah's words echoed in my head long after the call ended. Ethan wasn't the only one involved. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat at my desk, staring at the flash drive that had already destroyed one man's career, and maybe my own sanity. If Ethan had a partner, that meant the $10 million deal was more than a scam. It was a conspiracy. Maya agreed. If there's another player, we find them before they bury us, she said. We started digging. Maya pulled investor lists, shell companies, and bank transfers. Then, buried under a chain of offshore accounts, we found a name that froze us both. Gavin Holt. Gavin was Ethan's mentor, the silent investor who'd helped launch Novatech in the early days. He was also the one who introduced Ethan to the $10 million venture fund. I remembered the man vividly. A tall figure in a charcoal suit, always smiling, always watching. During the funding dinner, he'd raised his glass to me and said, Smart engineers build futures. Smarter ones sell them. Back then I'd laughed. Now it sounded like a threat wrapped in a compliment. We uncovered internal memos linking Gavin's firm to multiple startups that had mysteriously gone bankrupt after raising huge investments. The pattern was always the same. Inflate value, secure funding, fire the key employee, and vanish with the cash. Novatech was just the latest victim, and I had been the perfect fall guy. When we took the evidence to Officer Reynolds, the investigator handling Ethan's case, he sighed. You've stumbled onto something way bigger than Novatech, he said. Holt's got lawyers, politicians, even reporters in his pocket. Then how do we stop him? Yes. He handed me a file. You don't stop him. You expose him. Maya and I spent the next 48 hours compiling everything. Emails, contracts, bank logs, into one airtight dossier. But Gavin struck first. The morning before publication, Maya's apartment was broken into. Her laptop, drives, even printed notes, gone. She called me in a whisper. They're watching us, Parker. My neighbor saw a black car outside. I felt my blood run cold. We were too close. I looked at the encrypted backup drive sitting on my desk, the only surviving copy. They thought they'd silenced us. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I knew one thing. If Gavin wanted me silenced, I'd give him a reason to listen. I contacted him directly using the same private investor email chain I'd once been part of. Mr. Holt, I have data you'll want. It's me. Discretion guaranteed. He replied in 5 minutes. Tomorrow. 9 p.m. Hotel Palisade, rooftop bar. It was the same place where Ethan had once toasted our $10 million deal. How poetic. Maya wired a hidden mic into my shirt. Don't provoke him, she warned. We just need him to talk. At 9 sharp, Gavin arrived. Perfect suit, perfect smile, snake eyes. Mr. Ellis, he greeted smoothly. You're either brave or foolish. Maybe both, I said. We sat. He sipped his drink like we were old friends. You've caused quite the storm. I thought Ethan could handle you, but clearly he underestimated you. So it was you, I said quietly. He smiled. Partnership, Mr. Ellis. I provide the capital. He provides the scapegoat. My pulse hammered. And what happens when the scapegoat fights back? He leaned closer. They disappear. That was all Maya needed. She was listening live from the car, recording every word. Understood. Enjoy your drink, Gavin. You'll need it where you're going. His smile faded as I walked away. Don't test me, Parker, he called after me. You don't know how deep this goes. But I did. Deeper than he imagined. That night, Maya sent the audio to Reynolds. By sunrise, an arrest warrant was issued for both Gavin Holt and Ethan Cole. Conspiracy, fraud, and data theft. The headline hit every major outlet. Tech investor duo caught in $10 million scam. Ex-employee leaks proof. It was over. Or so I thought. The next day I got a text from a blocked number. You think you won. Check your office window. I looked up and saw a laser dot moving across the blinds. The laser vanished as quickly as it appeared. But the message was clear. I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross. Reynolds insisted I move into temporary protective housing. Maya did the same. Meanwhile, the internet caught fire. Every news network covered the story. Ethan's mugshot was everywhere. Gavin was being extradited for financial crimes spanning 5 countries. But the fame felt hollow. I wasn't sleeping, barely eating. I kept checking shadows, expecting someone to show up. Then one morning I woke to find something on my doorstep. A manila envelope. Inside, a single USB drive. No note. Maya analyzed it. Inside were bank transfers from Gavin's offshore accounts, but also one shocking file. ClearMind 1.0.zip. My prototype. My code. The drive had metadata tags showing its origin. Source, Novatech/Parker Ellis. Proof that I was the rightful creator. The final piece of vindication. Reynolds called it poetic justice. Maya called it destiny. I just called it closure. Within weeks, the court awarded me full ownership rights to the technology. I launched a new company, ClearMind AI, with Maya's help. Investors lined up to back it, this time on my terms. At the launch press conference, I stood under bright lights, cameras flashing. I spoke from the heart. Betrayal doesn't break you. It reveals who you are when the world takes everything away. Applause thundered. I saw Ethan's face flash across a news screen nearby. Handcuffed, expression hollow. As I walked off stage, Maya whispered, "You won, Parker." I smiled faintly. "No, we did." That night, I looked out over the skyline, the same city that had watched me fall and rise again. I whispered into the night. "You fired me after I earned you $10 million. But you forgot. I was the only one who could build it again." The first morning after the launch felt quiet. No press calls. No angry emails. No chaos. Just sunlight filtering through the blinds and the faint hum of my computer booting up. For the first time in years, I didn't dread checking my inbox. The subject lines read like victory songs. "Congratulations, Parker. ClearMind's debut hits 2M views. Investors ready for series of funding." But it wasn't about money anymore. It was about freedom, the kind I had to fight for, bleed for, and finally build from scratch. When I walked into our new office that morning, my team, 10 people strong, stood and clapped. Leah was there too, smiling shyly. "Welcome back, boss," she said. Smiled. "Let's make something worth believing in." We got to work. The hum of keyboards, the smell of coffee, the buzz of ideas bouncing off glass walls. It felt like the beginning again. But this time I was in control. No Ethan. No investors pulling strings. No contracts hiding knives. By noon, Maya arrived carrying 2 coffees. She'd officially joined ClearMind as head of communications. "Your speech last night went viral," she said. "People are calling you the whistleblower who built a future." I laughed softly. "Guess I finally got my title back." She looked at me seriously. "You realize, Parker, you've changed the industry. You exposed corruption that people thought was untouchable." I sipped my coffee, staring out the window at the city skyline. Maybe. Or maybe I just reminded them that good people can fight back. In the weeks that followed, ClearMind flourished. We signed 3 major clients. Investors who once ghosted me now lined up for meetings. But I was selective. I only worked with people who valued transparency. One evening, while sorting through company mail, I found a plain white envelope. No return address. Inside was a single folded letter, handwritten. Parker, I saw your launch on the news. You look different, stronger. I never wanted it to end the way it did. Gavin used me just like he used you. But I let it happen. Sorry. Ethan. I read it twice, then set it down. Maya glanced at it. You okay? Yeah, I said. He's finally telling the truth. Are you going to respond? She asked. I shook my head. No. The past doesn't deserve an answer. Only lessons. Later that night, I found myself walking the old route to Novateka's building. It stood empty now. Lights off, logo faded. I pressed my hand against the glass door, remembering the boy I'd been when I first walked in there. Hopeful, naive, desperate to belong. Now I belonged to myself. Before leaving, I whispered, "Thank you, Ethan, for teaching me everything I needed to know about power." The next day, I called the team together. We're not just coding products, I told them. We're coding values. Every line of code should mean something. We build to improve lives, not exploit them. Applause filled the room. Leah's eyes were teary. You sound like a CEO now, she said. I smiled faintly. A real one. Later that evening, Maya and I watched the sunset from the office terrace. The sky burned gold over the city. You know, she said, this feels like the start of something unstoppable. He nodded. It's more than a company now. It's redemption. For the first time, I wasn't running from the past. I was standing on top of it. A year passed. ClearMind AI became one of the fastest growing tech startups in the country. But success didn't feel like revenge anymore. It felt like closure. We moved into a larger office overlooking the river. The view was breathtaking. City lights reflecting off calm water. The same skyline that once mocked me now glittering like a promise kept. The day began with an unexpected call from Officer Reynolds. Parker, he said, thought you'd like to know. The court sentenced Gavin Holt to 10 years for fraud and embezzlement. Ethan took a plea deal. 18 months, plus restitution to Novateka's employees. I was silent for a moment. Justice finally caught up. He chuckled. Sometimes it just needs a little help from people like you. After the call, I walked to the window and whispered, "It's over." Later that week, I spoke at a university entrepreneurship event. Standing before hundreds of students, I shared my story, not to glorify revenge, but to teach resilience. When they fired me, I said, I thought I lost everything. But all I really lost was the illusion that loyalty guarantees protection. You don't need approval to be valuable. You just need the courage to start again. The room erupted in applause. Some students had tears in their eyes. For a moment, I saw my younger self sitting among them. Tired, uncertain, hopeful. After the event, a student approached me. "Mr. Ellis," he said, "how did you not give up?" Smiled. Because they didn't just fire me. They freed me to build something better. That night, back at the office, I found another envelope waiting on my desk. This one had the official seal of the correctional facility. Inside was a short note. Parker, I start my sentence tomorrow. I'll spend every day trying to become the man I should have been. You built something honest. I'm proud of you. Ethan. I read it in silence. The anger I once felt had faded long ago, replaced by something quieter, understanding, maybe even pity. The next morning, I wired a small donation to a non-profit that helped rehabilitate ex-offenders. Not for him, but for the boy he used to be, the dreamer who once believed in building something good. Months later, ClearMind was featured on the cover of a major business magazine. From betrayal to billion-dollar vision. The Parker Ellis story. When the article came out, Maya placed a copy on my desk and grinned. How's it feel? I laughed softly. Like a chapter closing. We toasted with black coffee, our tradition since day one. As night fell, I stepped out onto the balcony, wind brushing against my face. The city stretched endlessly ahead, bright, alive, and waiting. I took a deep breath and whispered the same words that started my journey. You fired me after I earned you $10 million. But you forgot. I was the only one who could rebuild it. And this time I smiled. 'Cause I did. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's creation. They can take your job, your title, even your reputation. But they can't take your ability to rebuild. If you've ever been betrayed, share your story in the comments. And remember, success isn't payback. It's peace. Like, subscribe, and keep building your own comeback story.